Shannon with Pinnacle Consulting and serving as district manager for the Centerra Metropolitan District. Dave has indicated that the Metro District is not in a position to pursue the full enhancements, meaning the landscaping and the bridge monuments that were originally envisioned, and that's very disappointing. I'm sure it's disappointing for the council, it's disappointing for the district. We put a lot of effort into bringing forward the concept of a major gateway for Loveland. We still believe that's the right thing to do. Loveland deserves a great entry feature. We took it to the community and sold it. And tonight, unfortunately, we're in a position of having to say we can't support it today.
So tonight, again, we're going to have a discussion about this item with the hopeful culmination and a motion of approval for award. With that, we would anticipate starting construction in mid-October of this year, and
Yes.
right.
And I haven't seen the contract yet, but because we're working towards to that point, and then I'm pretty sure we'll have something, those terms in there.
So since we're dealing with public funds, Dave, I mean, the question I'm asking you is, what decision are you asking council to make tonight?
The decision is for a
That's for us to make that
direction on what to award.
That's for us. I mean, let me just say a few things so maybe we can get ourselves on a little different track here. Number one, I think the most important thing is probably the safety improvements. Well, I may not agree with how the structure is going to be. The fact of the matter is we're talking about safety improvements at this particular interchange. Second of all, and correct me if I'm incorrect here, this is an interim solution. This is not the final solution.
That's correct.
And in fact, I don't want to use the word throwaway, but it could be a throwaway $10 million from just the safety improvements. And I'm probably one of the people that want a sign that says Loveland, so at least know where we're at. I don't care so much about the aesthetics on a bridge that we'll probably take down someday, which doesn't make me feel any better. But the fact of the matter is that if we leave any money behind, what I need to know is who controls that money. Mm-hmm. Does the city council have a say in how the money is being spent? That's probably the key for every citizen, I'm sure most of us here on the council, as to what's left behind and what that money might be used for. And how would they go about the process? For instance, let's say they did have an employer that wanted to come in, they needed to put infrastructure in. Would they have to come to the council to ask them how they would use that money? That's what I want to know, John.
Okay. When the most recent bond issue was issued, they were required under the master financing agreement to put into, there's an indenture agreement that controls it's the terms and conditions of the bonds and how the monies are going to be spent under the bonds. They were required to create a sub-account that's identified in the indenture agreement of $12 million, and now it's been reduced. You agreed to allow the 490, I think, to be moved to the Crossroads interchange project. So now there's a remaining $11,510,000, I believe, in that sub-account. And under the agreement, that can only be used for the I-25 34 improvements. And so that money has to be spent for that purpose. And the only way that it can be spent for another purpose is if the city agrees to that. So they have to come and get the city's consent, like we did with the 490,000. It'd be that same process. It would have to come to city council and would have to get your consent to amend that indenture or give the consent under the indenture to allow that money to be spent for some other purpose. And again, because the money is coming from the MFA, under the MFA Master Finance Agreement, it has to be used for improvements under the Master Finance Agreement unless council agrees to amend the Master Finance Agreement.
Before I go on, I just want this conversation to end, because I want all the facts so we can work on this. So because I don't think it's as complicated as we could make it. If we can control what not only us but other councils could control where that money could be spent. My personal opinion. We still have to decide whether they want to do aesthetics or not, and to what extent. What it amounts to, folks, is I probably asked a question that probably wasn't quite as easy to answer as John made that answer sound, but we're going to find out here in a second.
Well, there is a problem, and I don't know that you're going to, because nobody talked to me about this until today. That under the indenture, there is a provision that once there's substantial completion of the improvements and there's some question as to whether it's just the safety improvements, but if it is just the safety improvements, then those monies get released back into the general account of the indenture, which means they can be used for any public improvements in Centerra.
Back on this issue we were talking about before, it seems to me that the original intent, the way it was read that John talked about, was that the language was there. Once that improvement was done, whatever was left, if there was any funds left, would go back into the general fund of the Metro District. And that's, I think, the intent of that. I don't think anyone anticipated this particular scenario that we're looking at right here tonight. So, to me, it's not a problem.
Transfer of $490,000 from this dedicated account at I-25-34 over to the Crossroads Boulevard. I asked a real direct question of Mr. Pogue whether the Metro District still had any bond proceeds left, and I received the answer that they had zero left. I asked whether they were broke, whether they had zero, and so I guess I just need seeking clarification. I heard tonight that they have $2.5 million in bond proceeds. Has that money accumulated in the past month and a half, or I'm trying to sort that out because I'm not sure I would have voted for that 490 transfer if I knew that there was extra money in that fund.
The balance of money available from bond proceeds is the $2.5 million. That is the difference between $11.5 million that was set aside and the $9 million. Now, there's some outstanding bills for design. There's some additional, a few $100,000 that's not, the bills haven't been paid yet, but going forward there's $2.5 million of discretionary money. And it's the same money we're talking about this evening. So the comment a month ago
Well, that's true.
is
That
consistent.
was true.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Oh,
Another,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Oh, did you
Go-
want to follow?
no, go
Okay.
for it.
I just had another question. Under, thus far, under the MFA, has the Centerra Metro District 1 used any money designated for public improvements, whether regional or local, for landscaping, signs, things such as that, up to this point?
Yes,
We have an approximate amount.
Well, there's quite an extensive list within the master financing agreement of what is defined as a public improvement, and certainly landscaping and signage are one of those improvements, along with roads and water and sewer lines. I couldn't give you this evening the breakout of how much was for roads versus water lines or landscaping.
Okay. Thank you.